This is how I use codex with OpenClaw and Gemini. This is rarely something talked about, but I wanted to bring that to your attention because if truly this is just a kind of a way for you to remember a couple of things. Number one, there is a there's going to be a way for you to spawn money with OpenClaw and Codex and Gemini if and only if you use it appropriately. So um, let's begin. I have an idea. Uh, let's begin. So this is basically how you want to use Codex. What you want to essentially the most important part to remember when you're building any of those agents, there's a context route problem, and there is like tools are just really expensive, and you need to kind of construct things ahead of time and construct skills like in real time. So there's kind of a different schools of thoughts on this. So when you start constructing anything in real time, you're obviously using tools like anti-gravity, Codex, CLI, Claude, and all sorts of other tools like Gemini. But with OpenClaw, you're using like API kind of friendly tools. So basically, the idea here is try to make it work for yourself. Try to make all of those tools work for yourself. But like when you're constructing skills, use Codex CLI directly from Gemini. So in simple words, like here's the process. You build a skill in Gemini, then you like if it gets stuck or something doesn't work, it will just invoke Codex CLI, which will push through and um, like solve your problem if, for example, Gemini couldn't handle it. That's how we're using it. And then once the skill is complete in Gemini and Codex works on it, cooks a bit, then it gets replicated into OpenClaw. In OpenClaw, there's a couple of things set up, like there's a bunch of models set up, like Minimax 2.7, or should I say Max Mini 2.7, and 2.5 was the one that was dope, but 2.7 is even bigger. It's even better model. So in OpenClaw, I use those kind of models that can get stuff done agentically, but they will eat your tokens like no tomorrow, providing that you don't groundify yourself in some sort of a RAG-based structure. Um, and the way to groundify yourself into RAG-based structure is to use Notion. So this way, let's say if you have personal side hustles, or maybe you have passionate side hustle or professional endeavors. Maybe you have different categories of life that you're dealing with, but like if you kind of start having everything in one agent, it's going to be really hard for you because you know you're going to run into context rot. But what I do, I still combine, like I crisscross my professional, passionate, and like all sorts of other endeavors. I still crisscross them. But when I do that, that's where actually when you have the most innovative ideas come out when you crisscross them. For example, I created a Feudal educator clay. This is a clay specifically that was grounded based on instructional data, um, based on university, based on my kind of a personal thing, not really my professional where I teach, where I work. So the idea is I still managed to bridge the gap between both the professional world and personal world and passionate world. Uh, and when I do that, I notice that's when the most innovative ideas come out. So if I was to tell you, go ahead and kind of work only on your like place yourself in a box. If I was to tell you that, then you would do that, and then you wouldn't make any money. But if I tell you, do this, categorize your life into professional, passionate, personal kind of endeavors, and then build on top with like with some sort of a framework. In my particular case, that framework is called Feudal Educated Clay that wraps around all of those endeavors. Thank you. So, oh, uh, when you have those endeavors, like, professional, passionate, and personal, you kind of have to think of it this way. Okay, I have many different things in life. Like, what can I do this? What can I use codex for with OpenClaw and Gemini? How can I do them in a way that I'm actually making money? That's kind of the first thing you have to think about. Now, thank you guys for joining. Hello, hello. Just grabbing some coffee. Taking you guys with me for a quick walk. So now, like, check this out. And this is gonna be counterintuitive what I'm about to tell you guys. This is yesterday. I created an OpenClaw skill. For the longest time, I was just, I was like, man, I have so many things in my life. I I need that OpenClaw to do a bunch of things for me. So the first thing I did is I was like, okay, what is it that I'm doing a lot of that I don't want to be doing like manually? So obviously, some of you will say, well, I don't like, how do I start with that? I don't know what to do either. But guys, look, you're gonna have something in your life. You're gonna have some sort of a professional thing that you're doing. In my case, I'm a full stack cybersecurity engineer. Uh, Now, maybe you have some passion. In my case, I'm building a talent agency and where I specialize in helping luxury pet moms over 40 make some money in, or maybe you have like, some of those personal things, things around your house. Maybe you trying to save money with coupons or save money on on the contractors, and and at the same time maybe earn money in local neighborhoods and just doing certain things here and there. At the end of the day, everybody has something. So I kind of looked at just a regular person and studied their brain a little bit, like how can I morph all those elements into a typical person, yet at the same time make money. And of course, this is something is not really trivial, guys. But once you start looking at like all of those tools, OpenClaw, Codex, Gemini, and kind of begin categorizing yourself into categories, like what exactly you're doing in your personal, professional, and passionate endeavors, then out of a sudden it becomes a lot easier for you to start thinking of tools. So going back to the tool, so the first tool that I went ahead and I quickly created, um, the tool that interfaces directly with my YouTube channel and spies on me when I'm creating a YouTube. So before I would just like, I would just, I mean, you guys seen how big my channel is. I have thousands of videos, and I mean, sheesh, I have more videos than Neil deGrasse Tyson, the famous astrophysicist. So, uh, and my biggest problem was nobody would see those videos, and it would just suck. You create the videos, and people wouldn't see it, but the right people definitely need to see those videos because eventually there's a lot of money saving, time saving that you could get if you put some of those um, tools and workflows to use based on what I'm describing. Because at the end of at the end of the day, what I discovered is right now the real flex is not like the tools or how to use them, but the point of view, the point of view of an actual person, something that you cannot just go ahead and scrape. And this is just something that only evolves over time as you kind of submerge yourself into the mindset and into the life of that person. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, um, with the tools, like, so what did I build? The first most annoying thing that I had to deal with was with YouTube. I knew that YouTube was like fire. It has all those things. Google Classroom. It has all so many different things that I could just interact with it on a CLI basis and automate it the easiest. So now, of course, I did that, and believe it or not, there are use cases where Google is like savior for you in terms of in terms of spawning money. But at the end of the day, like recognizing those use cases could be tricky. So, for example, a lot of like for the biggest, longest time ever, I thought like, you know what? I mean, that's kind of too simple. Here's the problem. Everything I would do, I would think it's too simple. And for the longest time, because of my thought process of thinking that everything is too simple, I would never bother doing anything at all. And as a result of this technical, like of this mindset depth that took place of overthinking and realizing how simple things and never executing them, resulted in kind of no operational effectiveness of whatsoever. But this is what actually helped me when I actually started executing many simple things. Instead of thinking like, oh man, I need to do something extremely complex to conquer the world, instead, I just hyper focused on very basic skills that anybody could do. But the real power of those very basic things, skills come from when you bundle them together. And your brain is not going to recognize the true power until you go through those trials, triumphs, and tribulations, original triumphs, and tribulations of dealing with those problems. Only then, when you see the solution, you get to recognize how powerful this is. And unfortunately, like even right now, I'm getting likes in real time from in this community. And right now, I'm getting likes, really, guys, from in this community. It's absolutely bonkers. So what I did is like, check this out, guys. So I mean, I know you're here for like Codex, CLI, and OpenClaw, but let me, if it's okay with you, let me break down the use case that I'm using it for. So obviously, when you build any kind of solution, it takes lots of tokens, and there's context rot issues that you run into if you just kind of build random things. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, like here's what works for me. Essentially, the easiest thing that I managed to replicate that saves me a lot of time on my personal level and my passionate level. So like, okay, man, let me back out a little bit. When I begin working on any kind of open class skill, I categorize that into three buckets: professional, um, personal, and passionate. So like anything that I work with is categorized on those three categories. So going back to um, Gemini, CLI, and Codex, and OpenClaw, how am I juggling all of that in context of all those three categories? So the first thing what I do is I look at how much time I'm spending in creating thought leadership process. If it takes a long time, um, obviously that's a problem. So the first thing what I did is I built a skill that is absolutely bonkers. On my passionate level, it saves me incredible amount of time. In my educational level, it saves me incredible amount of time. And on professional, I haven't used it yet on a professional level. Now, I use other tools on a professional level, but not like for this particular use case. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, um, there are people that are listening to everything that you're building. There are people, like the problem is, guys, you're not positioning yourself in front of people who are actually listening. And what's even bigger problem is you could be really good for all practical purposes. You could be like a really good person, meaning you could be incredible. The problem is like nobody is going to find out about how incredible you are unless you solve the following problem. This is the problem that you're having. You don't distribute content into relevant channels. That's the kind of like number one problem. Now, to solve that problem, what I did, I literally built a basic thing that is very congruent to what I'm actually doing in a passionate world. Something that is really that people can see in community. And what I built is basic OpenClaw agent that spies on me on YouTube, sees when, categorizes when I'm talking about professional or personal or professional style of content, and then jumps back in into relevant communities that I'm part of and injects like an article with a YouTube video, the very same YouTube video that I'm creating, and packages everything in Notion, includes descriptions, generate thumbnails, generate titles, because let's just face it, guys, when you create a title, it's not going to be the most optimized title for YouTube. So what OpenClaw does, it looks at the latest non-published videos and it follows up with me a few times per day, because before I would be like, man, let me publish this video today, let me publish this next day. And I'm like, that's not realistic to work like that, because you just can't, you're just going to be like a process prisoner to do that. So I needed something better than being a process prisoner. I needed something that I could extenuate my point of view further, into project myself into the sky and make myself like easier to work with some of those um, you know, passionate endeavors, professional endeavors, or personal endeavors, whether it's doing side hustles or doing university side hustles or anything like this. Now, come check this out, guys. What I'm talking about me is not trivial. What I'm doing is I'm kind of, when you trying to understand what I'm doing, if you try to attempt to understand what I'm doing right now in this video, kind of think of it this way. Like with every video that you watch me do, sometimes I start from top to bottom and then kind of reinforce um, some of those title topics from left to right and right to left and diagonally. So the way my brain works is I start from top to bottom, sort of like using the pyramid principle. I don't know if you read that book. It's a pretty dope book, but it was written by some folks in Yale, or some of those real smart people. And what they mention in the book is that you need to start from the pinnacle of the pyramid and extenuate your thought process towards the base. So I was like, I bet. Let me go ahead and talk about OpenClaw and Codex, CLI, and Gemini, and kind of extenuate from the um, like top of the pyramid towards the base. So this is a very unique way of thinking, and a lot of folks who are in different. Here's the problem: in the world of AI, everybody have their own kind of personas, meaning with every single video you watch, you basically kind of get cooked and get personified into this kind of a silo. So uh, to break out of that silo, you simply need powerful uh, threats hustlers, side hustlers, freedom founders who can project your point of view in different direction and finally like um, get you to kind of narrow down your thought process. And this is why communities like Indies community exist, where you could join as a premium member and where you no longer deal with individual people, but you work with like cohorts with people who have a mission of building really good, powerful agents for businesses, and it becomes a lot easier for you to talk to those people because their mission is tied to like whatever it is that you're trying to do. Now, if you randomly begin talking and extenuating your thought processes and discussing things like, hey, let me talk about Gemini um, and whatever, like codex CLI, and don't give the tea, then people are gonna be like, damn, I don't know. I need the tea now. And if you don't give them the tea, then they're gonna be like, damn, I don't know why I'm here. So here's how you give the tea to anybody who wants to drink it. Except remember, people gonna be consuming your tea through LLMs. So in simple words, when you're creating any kind of content, remember a couple of things, guys. When you use OpenClaw, sure, it's good and great. And in fact, so good and great that, I mean, holy smokes. I set I set a workflow yesterday that looks at my YouTube videos, checks to see for the keyword phrase that I say, like from the beginning of the conversation towards the end, extrapolates that and makes it possible for me to double down and explain, and basically like it just grabs the concept, entire context from the video and drops it into relevant community based on my categories, whether it's personal, whether it's passionate, whether it's professional category, whatever the case may be. But now, does it take a little bit of time for you to structure the entire thought process and structure all those different kind of videos? Yes, absolutely. You need to structure the videos. When you talk through the video, you have to make a central point, and the central point here with all those tools is the fact that if you use Gemini CLI, you could run the Gemini CLI, construct the skills, and then call from Gemini CLI codex CLI to cross-check your skill and then replicate that back into OpenClaw. When you do that, it becomes relatively simple because other people get to see um, like what you do. Like they get to see those skills because any kind of skill you do, you need to put a wrapper, like a clay wrapper for how it's all being going to be consumed by other people. If you don't build it this way, it's going to be hard for you to like sell anything. So in case if you're trying to sell something, it's going to be hard because you're not creating clay that is wrapped around people's needs. But once you create that clay, it's going to be a lot easier. So anyway, that's it for now, guys. If you wanted to create that clay for your Codex, CLI, and Gemini and OpenClaw, a couple of things to remember. OpenClaw will chew through tokens like a bad gremlin. so, um, so definitely kind of remember that. If you don't want it to chew through tokens like a bad gremlin, you need to adjust it and use Freedom Fusion Router. Take a look in community in the Indies community about Freedom Fusion Router, what it does, uh, how it optimizes um, data. See if you could use it for yourself. You could either try to recreating it based on the article that you already seen in Indies community, or and you could just search in school community for Freedom Fusion Router and see like right away what that is. That will help you reduce the overall tokens. And um, also, try to run multiple tools like CLI. You get some credits until April. I think OpenAI is giving you some credits until April. So you could really put to use some of those skills and quickly whip them out. Uh, Now, keep something in mind. Once you start building lots of skills, you're going to quickly forget which skill you build. And frankly speaking, you're going to forget the entire conversation and the skeleton structure of whatever it is that you build, which is why you need to package everything into Notion and groundify yourself to Notion. So whenever, for example, the other day, and that other day was yesterday, I went ahead and created a basic skill that adapts the Feudal Educator Clay. That is basically, as I mentioned to you before, Feudal Educator Clay is a blanket that you throw on top of your use case, and it becomes like a powerful inherited. You inherit basically the entire framework for um, working with Google Classrooms and educational content. So using that clay, I went ahead and I spun up a skill for Indies community. So if you're already in Indies community, you have probably seen the Skooky Sys Freedom Fusion automation. And it's basically the automation with OpenClaw that I built yesterday is very similar to the Skooky Sys. And if you're not sure what the Skooky Sys is, search for it. You're gonna see what that is. And Skooky Sys is absolute fire. If you use it, man, it's gonna be smooth sailing for you. Now, the problem is, like, by the time you build the solution, and by the time you do whatever it does, with every iteration of that solution, with everything that you build, there's a chance that it's just not going to be picked up by anybody. Now, how do you solve that problem? A lot of people say, well, Rome, I'm constantly building, but I just not making any money. Is there anything that I could do? Yes, guys, this is you need another skill. And I've written this skill with OpenClaw that taps into your Andromeda, your meta manager, and works with Andromeda. Now, keep something in mind. There's Manus. Manus is something that got acquired by Andromeda, and you could use it to create a bunch of very good winning ads that are like really good ads, and they definitely work, guys, 100%. You just need to put them up. Now, it will chew like gremlin through the tokens if you use Manus. But uh, in fact, if I was you guys, and like if you don't have a lot of budget for Manus, because as you guys know, this channel is all about meta and all the tricks that I discover in meta, I bring to you guys. And of course, in combination with meta, I cover other things like OpenClaw, codex CLI, Gemini CLI, anti-gravity, Andromeda, and many other tools. Now, today's topic is going to be like you already know what today's topic, build like literally using those tools in combination. Now, first, the problem is when you talk about too many tools, people don't really understand how are they used. So the more tools you talk about, the harder it's going to be for you to get audience. Kind of remember that, okay, guys? So in fact, you could experiment with that and just say, hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about Google. Here's a use case. This use case is all about instructors. Here's how I'm going to be talking about using Google with OpenClaw. So like literally, guys, when you're creating content and you wanted to, I don't know, get some customers for Google and OpenClaw, if you talk about just technology, guys, people are not going to be, they're going to be like, I don't really want that. I need to see some sort of problem solved. So just kind of keep that in mind. So when you start any kind of content, you have to start from the pyramid, pinnacle of the pyramid, extend it towards the base. Okay. Now, keep something in mind. People don't do that. People don't tell you that, and most of the cases, this is the reason why you're not selling anything because nobody's really like diving deep in such analogies. So hopefully that makes sense. And end, end, end. And this was my key phrase for finalizing this session. And my OpenClaw skill is going to go ahead and pick this up and drop this in this community. And I'll have a little, it will reach out to me at the Telegram bot and tell me, hey, the new video popped up. I'm going to go ahead and publish that in Indies community. This is the power of OpenClaw. Now, this is just the beginning, guys.